Welcome to TankSpot's Fury Warrior Class Guide. My name is Thegreatme, and in this guide I'm going to be discussing what you need to know in order to play a Fury Warrior, including your spec, your glyphs, your cooldowns, and your rotation. The information in this movie is only accurate as of patch 3.2.2, and as such, in the future, some or all of the information may become invalid. Fury is one of the two DPS specs that warriors have, and unlike Arms, which is the other DPS spec, Fury Warriors DPS by dual-wielding two weapons instead of using just one. Also, Fury DPSs in Berserker stance as opposed to Arms, which DPSs in Battle stance. In this next section, I'm going to be discussing Fury talents and where you should be putting your points. Early on in the Fury tree, there are a few talents that could be considered filler talents. These talents include Booming Voice, Improved Demoralizing Shout, Unbridled Wrath, Improved Cleave, and Commanding Presence. How you choose these talents is dependent on your gear and the needs of your raid. For example, as your gear improves, you will naturally generate more rage, and therefore you might find it acceptable to take points out of Unbridled Wrath and put them somewhere else. Another example would be if your raids generally have a Retribution Paladin spec'd into Vindication, there is very little need for another attack power reduction debuff, so therefore you could skip Improved Demoralizing Shout and put those points elsewhere. If you're having trouble trying to decide where to put these early talent points, talk to the other warriors in your guild and see where they have put their points. Ideally, you want to spread your filler talents out evenly so that your raid has all of the best possible abilities. Other than these filler talents, there are not too many variations of the Fury spec. This is because the talents that you do not pick up are generally ones that are very mediocre for PvE situations, and therefore, there's no need for you to get them. These required talents include Armored to the Teeth, which causes you to gain 3 attack power for every 108 armor you have. Cruelty, which grants an additional 5% chance to crit. Dual Wield Specialization, which increases the damage of your offhand by 25%. Precision, which increases your chance to hit with melee weapons by 3%. Death Wish, which gives you an ability that costs 10 rage, and when you use it, it will increase your damage done by 20% and your damage taken by 5% for 30 seconds. Flurry, which will cause your next 3 swings after a critical strike to be 25% faster. Intensify Rage, which reduces the cooldown of your Blood Rage, Berserker Rage, Recklessness, and Death Wish abilities by 33%. Bloodthirst, which is an ability that costs 20 rage and does damage equal to 50% of your attack power and has a 4-second cooldown. Improved Whirlwind, which increases the damage of your Whirlwind ability by 20%. Rampage, which causes your critical strikes to grant all party or raid members within 45 yards of you a buff, increasing their melee critical strike rating by 5% for 10 seconds. Blood Surge, which gives your Heroic Strike, Bloodthirst, and Whirlwind abilities a 20% chance to cause your next slam to be instant. Unending Fury, which increases the damage of your Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, and Slam abilities by 10%. And Titan's Grip, which allows you to use two-handed weapons in one hand at the cost of doing 10% less damage. Most Fury specs will also put points in the Arms tree in order to get Improved Heroic Strike, Impale, Deep Wounds, and Two-Handed Weapon Specialization. This requires you to spend at least 18 points in the Arms tree, but other than getting these 4 talents, it doesn't matter where you put your points. Now I'm going to be discussing what glyphs you should be using as Fury. For your major glyphs, you should have Glyph of Whirlwind, which decreases the cooldown on your Whirlwind ability by 2 seconds. Glyph of Heroic Strike, which causes your Heroic Strike critical hits to refund 10 rage. And either a Glyph of Execution, which causes your Execute ability to do damage as if you had 10 additional rage, or a Glyph of Cleaving, which causes your Cleave ability to hit an additional target. If there are 2 or less targets, you should be using a Glyph of Execution, and if there are 3 or more targets, you should be using a Glyph of Cleaving. For your minor glyphs, you should be using Glyph of Battle, which increases the duration of your battle shout by 2 minutes, or Glyph of Command, which increases the duration of your commanding shout by 2 minutes. Glyph of Blood Rage, which reduces the health cost of Blood Rage by 100%. And Glyph of Enduring Victory, which increases the window of opportunity in which you can use Victory Rush by 5 seconds. In this next section, I'm going to be covering what abilities and cooldowns you will be using as a Fury Warrior. The main abilities that you will use as Fury are Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, Slam, and Heroic Strike or Cleave, depending on the number of targets present. Some of the more important situational abilities that you will use as Fury include Execute, Victory Rush, and Battle Shout or Commanding Shout. The major cooldowns that you have as Fury are Recklessness, Death Wish, and Shattering Throw. Ideally, you want to be using these cooldowns every time they come off cooldown, but you also want to be using them in conjunction with raid cooldowns such as Heroism or Bloodlust. As a Fury Warrior, it is important that you are above the soft hit cap, which makes it so your abilities cannot miss, as well as being above the expertise cap for dodges, which means your attacks cannot be dodged under normal circumstances. The soft hit cap is 8%, but because you have Precision, which gives you 3% hit, you only need 5% hit from gear. This comes out to be 164 hit rating. The expertise cap for dodges is 26, which comes out to be 6.5%, or 214 expertise rating. Because reaching these caps are so important, if you are unable to meet them by your gear alone, it is acceptable for you to gem for them, though ideally, you should never need to gem for hit or expertise. One thing to note is that after the soft hit cap, having additional hit rating is not necessarily a bad thing. This is because even though your abilities cannot miss, your auto attacks still can. So therefore, you can still get some DPS increase from having additional hit rating. Though, hit after the soft hit cap is not as vital to your DPS as it is under the soft hit cap. On the flip side, you do not want any additional expertise after the dodge cap because you are not going to get parried when attacking the mob from behind, and therefore any additional expertise will be wasted.